There we go. We are live.
We are live.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Okay.
So welcome everyone to the EFT MBA program. I am your co-host, Alina Frank.
And I'm the other co-host, Craig Weiner. Great to have you all back. And if you're new to the program, welcome. This is just an exciting new venture, right?
Yes.
EFT television.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. You
great.
imagine EFT on the mainstream, on television sets, computers around the world. Love this.
Yep.
Love it.
So I'm just doing some of the technical stuff here. If you have a question for us and you're viewing this live, go to the page where the comments are, right? You're looking at us. If you scroll down, you'll see a comment box. And because this is live and we want to help you as much as possible, if you have a question, just please type it in there.
Great.
Okay, so I think we're all set. So let's talk about what we are discussing today.
Well, what's the show about? What's this whole channel and why are we even doing this? We're doing this on a big picture because, we run the MBA page, the Marketing and Business Academy for EFT practitioners. But the really big purpose of why we do this is to support you. Right? Because we've trained thousands of practitioners, and skillful as they may be, they're not necessarily thriving financially. Right? We've done polls and found that out. And so the reason that we do this work, the reason that for years we've been giving away tons of material, we run the program, is to be able to support you to work through whatever blocks you need to gain the information and knowledge that you need to be able to have a thriving EFT practice. Sure. You deserve that. Yeah. So that's why we're here. Specifically,
and I want to say that because we have changed formats, we have gone from a podcast to this video cast, I guess we can call it. We decided to look back on all the years that we've been doing the MBA program and podcasts together and separately, and we were blown away that we had over 200,000. Just on the places that we could actually find, like we would have to go and do some digging about how often it's been downloaded in iTunes. Right. But just from Blog Talk Radio, there's over 200,000 listens. That's amazing.
That was exciting. That was fun to do.
Yeah, it was. So we're ready for this new format, and we're hoping that you're more engaged in the video and that you'll it's completely interactive. I would love for you to comment, ask questions. We're, like Craig said, we are really here for you. Right. So let's talk about today's topic.
Yes.
And let me turn off some kind of notification that's happening here. Okay. So today's topic is very personal, right?
Ooh, yes. No, yes, it is personal because all of it is personal, right? Yes. Business is personal, especially within an EFT practice.
Right.
So it's personal for us because it was, what did we learn and what can you glean as a result of us having gone through a pretty big downturn? Oh,
yeah. Serious downturn.
Yeah. We had to sell 2 houses. Our businesses had collapsed. The economy had tanked.
Yeah.
Life in a lot of ways had gone in that particular direction.
Yeah, no, it really did. So so we lost 2 houses and so that really was the place where we kind of hit rock bottom. It was 2007, 2008, the worst housing crisis, and the bottom of the recession when we did that, and we were both leaving former relationships, and so I found myself even more scared when the possibility was that I thought I had some financial support, and selling our house in a fire sale and all of those things, it was pretty bleak. Now, I will say that we are not the people that were living in a van down by the river. Okay.
That's
so
true.
I really do want to say that. And
because there are people that are living through that
absolutely
at harder times than we've experienced.
For sure. But it's been interesting in the last month. There have been some blogs that I follow which are talking about this idea that there are so many people out there in the personal development field that they just launch in their speech about how horrible things were, how they were eating dirt, they were destitute, they had nothing, and suddenly they had this big breakthrough and everything changed, and how that's really disingenuous because it does take work. It does take work to get out of that hole. It
Right.
does take work to get out of that mindset that may have contributed to you getting there. Or sometimes you are going along fabulously well, living life and in alignment with positive. Whoops. What happened? Okay. In alignment with positive thinking and all of these other things, and something negative happens. And often that's a time it's inherent in something terrible happening, like a trauma, and you know this from your clients. There can be a tremendous amount of gifts, and the gifts and the learning are really some things that we do want to share.
Right.
So,
And they often show up later. And I think how does this show up for people? So people that we know of, people that have been diagnosed with, some medical condition or some
Right.
injury, or they're in a car accident, or all of a sudden it takes a downturn.
right.
It's a change of a relationship, a divorce, something like that, something that splits apart a family, a natural disaster, a
Right.
loss of a home, a fire. There's so many different things that all of a sudden things are fine and then they're not.
Right.
And coming back out of that hole is a big deal, not just for the work that's required, but the emotion, the attitudes that are required to shift when all this stuff is saying things are not good. I don't care what you're thinking, but things are not good. So how do you do that? What did we learn from that we might share that people that are going through that can utilize?
Right. Certainly, because we did learn some valuable lessons, and like post that era for us, we have just seen phenomenal growth in our business, the biggest year ever. So each year after that has been a slow and steady increase.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been amazing.
Great.
So,
and you know what? We're not anything that you're not.
Yeah,
I mean, really,
absolutely.
I mean, things tanked for us like they did for everybody else. We
Right.
fall off the wagon. We
Yeah.
are not to be held up as some
No.
couple of perfection and practice, believe me.
No.
But the steady climb is there, and it's not always like this, right? It's like this, and then it gets frustrating. We hit something, it hits back. I mean,
Yes.
It's like kind of the stock market, right? It does this. So let's offer some tips and things that we
Sure.
learned.
Sure.
And first one.
Yeah, lesson number one by far is that fear
Yeah.
can actually motivate you
Okay.
to light a fire under your ass. Really,
Okay.
seriously. Like, I cannot do anything else but go and get motivated. The fear is it's just there. It's palpable. I can taste the fear of being out on the street or not being able to provide for my kids, which was my experience. And so that's why we say it can be a tremendous motivator. However,
on the other side,
uh-huh.
it can also be a big sinkhole.
Yeah.
And it can lead to real collapse and depression and just an intense everything seeming to be overwhelmed and
inaction.
Yep. And paralyzing.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, how many people have felt that feeling of like, oh my God, this is never going to get better. And I've tried this and I've tried that. And then just no longer do I stop trying because everything I tried doesn't work. And it just spirals downwards. So that fear can really go in both those directions.
Yeah. So it's important, if you haven't figured this out, it's important to do lots of tapping when you're hitting bottom.
That's a good strategy, right?
It's a very
fear
good strategy.
On specific examples of how it's never going to change.
Well,
it's
yeah,
never going to get better.
And being specific to your situation.
Right.
So I had just asked for a divorce, and I found out that what I thought what I could rely on had completely disappeared. And so what's going to happen? Where am I going to be able to support my family? We're selling this house. We have no reserves. Selling the house and moving on to a place of complete uncertainty and being at peace with what would show up. And I only got there, I tell you, through massive amounts of doing some work, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I think these stories that people tell are very compelling, because they were able to overcome their fear. But like Craig said, yeah, don't hold us up as gurus. We just maybe are 1 step or 2 steps ahead of you, and everyone can transform their situation. So fear, motivate you, get you to do something, drive you to do something. I mean, think about evolutionarily how fear was a motivator to this saber-toothed lion is going to eat me, and a tiger is going to eat me, and I'm gonna run.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have neurophysiological built-in mechanisms from fear to take action. Right. So let's use that.
Yeah.
And so that's really it. I mean, the big piece is to recognize that the fear is a legitimate response, but then to tap on it so it takes you into motivation rather than that dark sinkhole.
Yep.
So that's one.
Yep.
Number 2, when you've reached that place of, oh God, it's just, God, is to actually insert the belief that this is as low as it goes.
Yes.
This is as bad as it gets.
Yes.
I am hitting my bottom. Because if you think, oh my God, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
Or
I hear people have said this. Oh God, can it get any worse than this?
Right. Like a mantra, right?
Ooh, there you go. There's worse. So yeah, it's this belief that it is through tapping, but it also is a mindset, which is I've hit rock bottom. The only way now is up.
Yep. And that's the place to bounce back from and use the tapping on that, obviously. Right. So we want to look at specific examples. If you have an experience of it having gone down and down and down in the past, obviously very tappable experiences to tap on and say, this is my bottom, bottom floor. I've hit it. Now we're using it to come back.
Yeah.
Right. So inserting that mindset in different ways and owning that is really important.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is something that happened. This was a lesson number 3 is lesson that I learned personally, and I see it with my client, with our coaching business clients and the students in our MBA program, that you have to at some point stop treating your EFT business as a hobby.
Were you doing that?
I was.
So was I.
Yeah.
It's like a side business.
Yeah,
right?
But you weren't. You really weren't involved in EFT at that
time.
Not
at that time. But in my own time, I have a chiropractic clinic, and EFT is my kind of side hobby.
Right.
Right. But I wasn't dependent on my EFT income in the same way that maybe you are. But if you're treating like your EFT practice like a hobby, it's going to pay off like a hobby.
Right. So if I ask someone, well, what are you doing for your marketing, when they're saying, I'm just not getting any business, or I'm getting a little bit of word of mouth, but nothing's really happening. I'm not hitting that 6-figure income I thought I would, all those things, I'll start asking. So what is it that you do for marketing your business? And they'll say something like, well, I have a website.
You know what? I'd even just step back. If you were to go buy, let's just say you decided you're going to get into business. You were starting fresh, and you were to, for simple sake, buy a franchise. I don't care what kind of franchise. What kind of things would you need to do to start that business? Right? You'd get training.
Yeah.
The education and training that you needed to be able to run it successfully.
Yes.
You'd have a business plan.
Right.
You take out some kind of loan or have some sort of capital to invest in it to get it started at the beginning.
You'd learn about the liabilities.
You'd learn about liability and legal. You would go ahead. You'd have design a strategic marketing plan.
Right.
You'd understand who your demographic is.
Yep.
Who you're going to reach, how you're going to reach.
If you're going to do advertising, how to create an advertising plan or a system or some kind of sales funnel, and if you are starting a service-based business, then things like coming up with systems in place. So
for communications, for scheduling, for payments, for making things simple. Right. So, you know, to take that in mind, how well are you doing that? Right. I mean, if you opened up a small little restaurant or anything, any kind of business, you would do those things automatically. But somehow, because people come in through a passion into EFT, because it changed their life, and all of a sudden they just open their doors and then expect it to grow, or they, you know, make flyers here, or they do this there. You know, no business thrives just like that.
Or the one that I hear the most often. I'm just going to use law of attraction.
You hear that a lot, huh?
Yeah.
People, if I do good work and I have a good heart and I have good intentions, and people will come.
And yes, and I will practice law of attraction. And what I have to say about that is that's great, and everyone should engage with the law of attraction. There's a big step that's missing, and critics of things like The Secret are, and actually the buzz that I've been hearing on these blogs too for the last month, I'll say that they're totally dismissing the action part, that you have to take action in order for these things to materialize, especially if we're talking about your business.
Right. And let's not take away the power of strong intention, the why you're doing it. You know, that energetic part is really important. But without action, I can't say I've hardly ever seen any thread of reliable success from that. So it takes both. Right?
For sure.
So what if you're saying, yeah, great, but I don't know anything about marketing, and I really don't know much about liability, and I certainly don't know anything about creating a business plan, and, you know, even accounting I'm not so good at. I'm just good at tapping, and I've gone through my certification or whatever. So now what? I don't have those skills. I better just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. What do you do then?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, because when I decided that I absolutely had to change the idea that my business was a hobby and somehow it would just happen on the side. And I got into, well, this has to be more, because I have to support myself and my family right now. So God, I completely lost my train of thought when you got those glasses. Isn't that crazy?
So getting some help.
Getting some help?
Not from me, but no, when you started your practice, you did it all by yourself.
I did. No, I didn't do it by myself.
When you started.
When I started, I did it by, oh, that's right. So that's we're coming up on lesson 4.
We're already on 4. That's what I thought I segued pretty well to that, but.
So, what happened was I then decided that I would spend time and money and energy and any money that I had. I really just went after, okay, who's going to help me in my business? And unfortunately, what I found was that I had to pick from all these different sources in order to fulfill what was needed in an EFT business, because an EFT business is very unique in many, many ways.
Right.
And so, yeah, you need to find, so I couldn't do it alone.
Not many people can. You tried, but.
I tried, and that was part of, it's a hobby. Then I switched gears, and then lesson 4 is work with someone.
Like?
Hire a business coach or get in a program. We happen to like the EFT MBA program.
But there's others. It's a matter of who's walked in your shoes successfully before you.
Right.
That knows the ropes, that knows how to help and direct you so you don't squander time, energy, money, effort, all of those things in directions that aren't working.
Yes.
Right. So get some guidance, and beyond even guidance is get some skill sets. Right. And there are other people that are best to be able to teach you a particular skill, whether it's on marketing, whether it's hiring somebody that you're not going to take on doing, like bookkeeping, etc. Right. In other words, or you have an assistant that does. So in other words, they're incremental. We know that when you're beginning your practice, you don't have a ton of money to have a web designer and a marketer and a coach and a bookkeeper and a CPA. I mean, you know, you're starting early. So you have to make those choices of how can I, what's most needed here? What's going to take my practice and business to the next level?
Sure.
What's my greatest investment of money for bringing in somebody that can help me with that?
Right.
Right. Because we've lost a ton of time and money that went into directions and classes and coaches and things that really didn't help. So
no, they gave us bad advice because they didn't know our business.
Right.
So, and sometimes that can just be, oh, I wasted money. And sometimes it could be, gee, I could be facing a lawsuit. So,
yep, that's happened too.
Yeah.
So let's just say that you're at that point. You've reached a point, you decided it's your bottom, and you've decided to let fear and worked on and tapped on the incidences so that fear can motivate you. You know, the fear of collapse, things aren't going to get better, all those things. And so now you're motivated, you've got good energy going. You're starting to look at what support I can have to be able to give me direction and inspire me and be able to give me skill sets. You've worked at that. You're really looking at your EFT practice as a business now and not just as a hobby. So you're pointed in that right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're pointed toward a successful future, but you're not there yet.
Right.
Right. You don't have the evidence yet here right now in your bank account yet.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we get from here to there? From where I am now, a not so successful place, to a future place that is.
Yeah. Well, part of that is definitely the piece of imagining, envisioning,
right.
intending.
What does that look like? Because we know that neurons and visions that you wire together, fire together, right? So in other words, fire together, wire together, right? Thank you for that, baby. So when we do that, we're literally starting to create that vision. The more we focus on it, the more we see it, the more our brains get used to that idea that that's possible, that that's what's so, right? So that's the first level.
Sure.
But we know that alone isn't enough.
Right. I mean, you need to follow that up with some action on getting you there.
Right.
But it really does really smooth or grease the wheels of change and moving forward progression if you spend time envisioning what your business is going to be looking like a year from now,
right?
3 years from now, 5 years from now. What would you like to see as part of your business?
So
do you want to see yourself booking with 20 clients a week? There are some in the beginning that feel, oh, that would be awesome. Or maybe just 10 and a combination of 10 clients and some workshops or online webinars or group coaching programs.
Or like we just had a great class that we did with 21 days to creating your first EFT product, right?
Right, where you
so our students are now starting to come out with their first CDs to be able to sell, so they have secondary income beside just their practice.
Well, yeah, and it's residual income because you just build it once and you get paid forever.
Right.
So there are all kinds of ways, but if you don't even set aside the time to envision what that'll look like, it'll just be kind of sloppy. Yeah. Surprises happen, really great ones, but more often than not, when you have a lot of passion behind what it is that you want to do, and you take the steps to moving forward and you clear the path with some tapping, then we know that it happens because it happened for us.
It did happen for us.
Right now we're looking from our new home. We can look out the window and see the water. I see cedar treetops. And I know there's eagles that nest over there. So I'm sitting here with my clients on Skype and I can look out and see this beautiful eagle just grace me with its presence.
And that feeds. And what is that for? I mean, let's get to the bottom line. What's that for? Because it feeds us.
Exactly.
It brings balance to our lives because we work hard, right? And we know that putting ourselves in a place and surrounding ourselves by nature, et cetera, is a really balancing thing for us.
Yeah.
I know that's why I moved here. So, the other thing I just want to say is I was working with a client last night and, the vision of, oh, I just want to do this. I want to be successful was sitting like this vague bubble.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that vagueness doesn't really conjure that sweetness of taste and that salivation for that, of what does it look like? What does the income look like? And just like you were saying, and do you imagine yourself doing retreats? And, you know, are you going to be doing those quarterly and a workshop monthly or a weekly class, or, you know, and your book, because person had written a book, and what does that look like, and what about, so as we started to get into the details of the reality of kind of this mixed way of having income come, not just having it be by one-on-one sessions, all of a sudden made it very real in a whole different palpable way that was very exciting. So imagining those kinds of details is really helpful. It is. Yeah.
So one of the ways that we like to imagine our future is with future reimprinting, which matrix reimprinting, right? Getting a really clear picture of what it is that we're trying to create in the future, and then going and engaging with your future self and getting all information that you can, while also listening to what the resistance is, what the block is, what the fear is, in order to clear that. Because we know that that's really the heart of why EFT is so successful as a modality, is the clearing and allowing.
Right. Right. Allowing. That's a good word.
Yeah.
The art of allowing.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So what are we going to allow for you? What do we want to send out to them in kind of a final note? Obviously to review the notes and the tips that we went over. Obviously kind of the home play for.
Here's what I really need to say.
What?
You do not have to hit rock bottom to start this process.
Good point.
We do not advise it. So that's really what I want to leave with. Sorry, I interrupted you. Okay. But that it is.
You don't have to wait.
You don't wait. Don't wait for that moment when you are, let's say, you know, there's an expression, balls to the wall. So you don't need to wait for that to motivate you. Say that you're going to do something about your business today. Tap on any fear, get support, envision what you really want, and go for it.
Okay. And if people have a question or they want to share something about that to motivate another, share their story, you know, so that it can benefit others, what's the best way for that? To communicate with us in between here and the next show. Yeah. Yeah, with us.
Oh, okay.
With you, with me.
So you can communicate with us on Facebook. We have EFT tapping training, a page there. We have
emotional freedom techniques tapping page.
We have about four Facebook groups that we moderate. Some are for certified practitioners. Right. Some are for those mentees and students that are going through the process. Right. We have a secret one for our EFT MBA program, and one for the general public, just unaffiliated, unbiased information about EFT. Right. And various ones. Yeah. So if you want to just drop us a line, you can just check us out here on Facebook and send us a friend request, and we can chat with you that way. You can go visit EFTtappingtraining.com, and there's a contact form in there.
Sure. And lots of upcoming workshops and trainings, matrix reimprinting and EFT and MBA. Money workshop and the MBA program, of course, EFTMBA.com.
Yep.
And anyway, lots of ways to communicate, send questions, send thoughts, share stories. We love that.
Yep.
So
on that note, we're going to be back here in 2 weeks. This is going to be a regular gig.
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
New material, new content.
New material. So if you have a show suggestion, that would be something that we would really love to get. I should put that in our next newsletter, just a show suggest the show that you want to see us cover. Any material that you want to see us cover. Say that 3 times. No, I can't.
Suggest the show. No.
I'm done.
We're so glad that you joined us. Thank you for tuning in here at the EFT Hub TV, which is just this great new way to reach you. So thank you so much for joining us today. Craig and Alina here saying, remember to keep on tapping.
Yes.